Hello, everybody. Ella J here on behalf of WrestleZone, and today I am joined by your BCW Women's Champion, Vicious Vicky. How are you today?
What's up, girl? I'm great. I'm living the good life.
I know you, my friend, as we were saying off air, 500 plus days as BCW Women's Champion. Have to give a round of applause for that. You've had some steady opponents. Also, somebody who I know pretty well, but she's all the way, from Australia. Lena Kross was your most recent title defense. How was it working with? I believe that's the first time you ever faced off with Lena.
Yes,
How was that, interaction bringing in somebody from across the world?
it was awesome. I mean, for me, I'm all about like leveling up and working people better than me, working people with more experience and people who are on the come up as well. And she's really tall, and I'm usually
Yes.
tall. I'm usually the taller girl in the match. So I was like, oh, cool. I'm looking up to her. Like, this is great. Yeah, it was a great match. Gave it my all, and we had a good match. So and it was good. It was really good. I'm glad that I got to experience someone from technically not even technically, legit a different country.
Australia, yeah. All the way
Awesome.
halfway across the world, and all that.
Crazy.
I think that's awesome too, that a lot more like US based promotions are bringing in like international talents, whether it's from like the UK, Japan, Australia. I love seeing that, those international matchups that you may rarely ever get to see, you
For
know.
sure.
And it's new experience for you. You're trapped in this little bubble of Jersey. It is a great bubble, though. I will say tri-state area is a great bubble, but I have to imagine it's kind of nice getting some fresh faces and fresh opponents, after so long.
Oh, for sure. It is. It's a very territorial kind of thing. Gabe Sapolsky talks about it all the time in his Twitter
Yeah.
spaces. Those are great. If you don't listen to those, talking to our fellow wrestlers and whatnot. Just great stuff, people in the industry. But it's true, it's like this little territory that we're in, and it's my Northeast bubble. And lately I've been trying to get out of that. It's a good thing. I have my fan base around here, which is great, and have been super loyal. But it's always good to, get in the ring with people who come from different cuts of cloth. It really is.
Yeah, let's talk about different cuts of cloths because, man, the first time I talked to you, you have transformed so much since then. You've since traded in your leopard print for the flames that never burn out. When I first talked to you, you kind of were leaning into that mafiosa character. Then
Yeah.
you transformed into this dark demon-esque persona, and now your current form is more pulled from real life. The
Yeah.
flame that never burns out. So I kind of wanted to talk about this evolution that you've had. You had the mafiosa, Jersey leopard print character for a while, then you felt a little bit stale. How
Yeah.
did you go from that then to kind of this dark, you don't have it anymore, but how did you go from that to this kind of dark demon-esque character after that? Because that's a big kind of shift for you.
Yeah, it was interesting. Vicious Vicky has been Vicious Vicky in different forms, I always say.
Yes.
I tried from the very beginning to pull from real life, and I am that Jersey girl at heart, and I am, I still wear leopard print, like it's still my thing, it's still me. But like you said, I had mentioned it in an interview prior, like, I felt like I wasn't progressing to the next level with creativity, and I wasn't progressing to the next level with my like persona. um and for me, the reason why I love wrestling so much is because of the characters, and because of those larger than life people that we saw on TV. So for me, it was a challenge. I felt myself getting stale. I felt the fans were always behind me. I'm very lucky. Quick side note, I'm very lucky. No matter what I do, they're just behind me, and it's incredible. So I'm very lucky in that regard. But I was like, you know what? Like, I love acting. I did small acting things here and there growing up and whatnot. So I'm like, let me try to really dive into something different. And I just had this idea one day. I was like, what if I'm like the Jersey Devil? And then I was like, ooh, the devil. And then I was like, ooh, and then just things just started happening, and I really took my time with it. I put out vignettes. It was a real slow build. It was me kind of like losing my mind, and having something take over me, which can pull from my real life, which was addictions and abuse and all these different things I went through in my life that I kind of summed into the devil taking over. and me portraying that character, that dark entity, if you will. Um, and I had fun with it. It was awesome. I kind of missed doing it, I'm not gonna lie. But my bread and butter and my biggest thing is the kids. And, I'm this badass chick and they love me. And to have like a little girl come up to you, I'm pulling the curtain back way, way far right now. But that's wrestling today, thank God. This is what we do. This is just how it is. Um, and a little girl looking at me going like, are you ever gonna go back to the way you were? And I'm just like, yeah, like, oh, like, and it just broke their hearts, which means I did my job, like it
Yeah.
worked. And I really did have fun with it. It was really cool to be spooky and different and like from hell and like Lady Kane, like it was really cool. After like, kind of realizing like, okay, like I want to take this and make it me, and now I'm just kind of Vicious Vicky, but what's my motive? Who is Vicious Vicky? And I say Vicious Vicky is a manifestation of a childhood dream. Vicious Vicky is a girl who literally lost everything once upon a time in her life, and the devil took over once again in her life, and I prevailed. I kicked its ass and said, "No, you're not taking over." So that's kind of why I kept the darker look, because I felt like it's a almost like an ensemble to me. Like it's I'm still me when I come out and I do my thing and I'm Vicious Vicky, but like the darkness that I'm kind of my gear and my hair and all that stuff is kind of showing that vicious side that the devil can come out at any time, or like, I'm just trying to have fun with it now,
Yeah.
and not think too far into it. But I like evolving. I like, changing my gear and doing different things and stuff like that. So right now where I'm at, I'm kind of starting to feel momentum a little bit, and I'm trying to just kind of perfect what it is right now.
Yeah. And you're still kind of pulling elements from that devil, obviously, like uh philosophically, but also kind of symbolically too with the flames and like
Yep,
hell, the devil and stuff like that. You're just kind of shifting the meaning behind the flames and all of that a little bit. It's kind of that fighting spirit, the flame that
yep,
never burns out, rather than so the darker, hellish elements. You still have that a little bit, but you're kind of just shifting the significance of like the flames and the fire a little bit. Um,
exactly. Yeah.
but I do not want to gloss over the fact, I don't think we've talked about this before. You were involved in some previous acting projects when you were younger. How extensive was your like acting background and stuff like that?
So not super extensive. I did a
Okay.
lot of stuff in like school and like musical
Yeah.
theater and like stuff like that. Always enjoyed doing it as a kid. Just being in plays, and I was in chorus, and like I had like solos. Like I could sing too, but no one really knows
Hmm.
too much about that. I kind of keep it on the low. But had so much fun with that. And then as I got a little older, like I just recently started doing some like small stuff. Like one short film was just released. Little short little things here and there. I was in a documentary about like domestic violence a couple years ago. So I like being on camera, I
Yeah.
like being, but I really enjoy doing like character stuff, um it's just been what I've done since I was a small kid, even just being a kid in the mirror and cutting promos, like this just been a part of my life for so long.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of have to be used to being in front of camera, especially in your wrestling. It's kind of what you sign up for, being in front of a crowd and all that. So it's kind of just a natural stage for you, And we're talking about this current iteration of Vicky. Some of that has been pulled, from this dark demon-esque enigma that you were, with the flames. But what else would you say are your general sources of inspiration when you're kind of crafting and envisioning your ring gear designs?
Yeah, so I kind of look at, so my biggest thing is I make jokes, and I will make it until I die because I think it's funny, where I say we're all Power Rangers in bikinis, right? Because it's like we all have that same look.
Yeah.
Um and I try so hard to not look like everyone else. And wear different things, and I experimented with so many different types of gear. Like even my own mother is like, she's like, "You're buying gear again?" Like I have another one in the works. She's like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "That's part of it though." Like it's exciting to make gear and design gear, and get ideas with my girl and whatnot. But I just kind of look at like what are people doing and what can I do different. And it's so funny. And it happens. This is wrestling. We all kind of pull from each other. It just is what it is. If you think about it, like moves and all that stuff were done before us, and entrances and movements and all that. That's how we study. That's how we learn. But it's just always, no one was wearing cheetah print. I was like, all right, I'll wear cheetah print. All of a sudden, everyone's wearing animal print. I'm like, damn, because it was a trend. And then I'm like, all right, you know what? Like nobody really does flames or anything like that. I'm gonna start doing flames in the fire. Like, what the fuck? Flames. I'm like, what is happening? So I try so hard to be different and do something that no one's doing. It's very hard in wrestling. It just is. But I like to just pull from what I'm feeling and what people aren't doing. And then I always try to go against the grain, which is why I think I evolve and change so much, is because I want to be different. I want to stand out. I want to do something different. But and I also look at colors and what are my favorite colors, or like what did Lita wear and how can I make this look like Lita but make it Vicki, or the Hardys, or like things like that. So I'm very like versatile, which is a good thing for me. Because I feel like my creative juices are flowing all the time, and all these creative gear designs or even just things with characters, I can't do them all. So sometimes I'm like, I need to give this to somebody. This is a great idea. But I just pull from like everything like that. I just really try to. It's the main thing is I just try so hard to be different. I try so hard.
You mentioned the Hardy Boys, who you recently had the opportunity. I don't think it's the first time you've met them. I don't think it is, but you recently had the opportunity to meet them, and obviously it was very sentimental because 7-year-old you wanted to hang out with them, and then adult you continues to be inspired by them, and it's kind of a full circle thing, like you said. So tell us about your most recent experience meeting them.
Yeah, so I met them when I was like 7,
Yeah.
and I was super young, and the line was super quick, and like, the picture of me, like my mom snapping, and I'm just like
Yeah.
this, like it wasn't even like a real picture.
Yeah.
Um, but they've been my boys since the very beginning, and when they were literally like in their little plaid jumpsuits, I was so young. I was so young, I remember, and I've followed them my whole entire life, my whole career, and they were a huge reason why. And I got getting to share a locker room with them, at TNA, and then having that moment where I'm like,
Yeah.
just talking to them and like a human, and I was able to kind of just tell them like, I had a moment alone with them, and both of my like heroes like in front of me, and I was just like, I didn't even know. And it was so funny now because I would even tell them now, like words just didn't exist in that moment. Like I
Yeah.
had this whole thing planned out of what I wanted to let them know and how I wanted them to, you know, portray my feelings. And like it just none of it came out. I was just like, I love you guys. I love you guys. Like I just didn't know because there's so many words. There's so much I could
Yeah.
say to them and how they saved me and how they helped me and like just things that they went through personally that I went through as well growing up. And I saw how they prevailed and bettered myself because of them, like just things like that. And they were just so amazing and just big hugs and love and appreciation. And it's just it's a full circle moment for me because when you grow up and most of us wrestlers most were fans, and to be able to kind of have those moments with these guys and girls and tell them how you feel and share locker rooms with them and be on an intimate level with them, it's like nothing you'll ever be able to explain. And I am just so grateful that the climate today is not like it used to be with like the hazing and all that stuff, because it's important, and it really really is important that we all recognize like why we love this and why we do this. So I'm just grateful that they were very appreciative of that.
I was also a huge Jeff Hardy was half the reason I got into wrestling, so I get that. I have yet to meet Matt. I've met Jeff 3 times. I have
Oh,
yet to meet them together. It's like,
oh God. You
just
will.
keeps
You
it
will.
keeps escaping me. Obviously, like you said, there's a lot of deep personal layers as to why you gravitated towards them. So feel free to share as much or as little as you want, but
Yeah.
how exactly have they inspired you?
So just from the very beginning, when they were just super young, there was these really cute young guys, just getting tossed around in the ring, and then they started getting more opportunities. And I remember I was really young, and like they're getting all these opportunities and just the things that they were doing and just how cool they were. And then when they evolved, like when they were like with like Michael Hayes and like just like the pants and the shirts, the way they looked, they were just different. They were different, you know, which is why I also love Lita so much. She was different.
Yeah.
And after like many years of just seeing them evolve, and you know, Matt Hardy was always my favorite. Love Jeff too. I love them both combined, but Matt Hardy was always my favorite. You know, and when he kind of evolved into that version one of him and just all of it, like for me as a kid, saw the evolution, right? So I saw the evolution of these two guys who are brothers. Lita left, all this split happening, and I'm really young when all this is happening, so I'm trying to understand it. And seeing how they kind of went off on their own and they were able to embrace, you know, creativity and uniqueness within their own selves, which was awesome. It kind of showed me as a young girl, you know, I can be whatever I want to be. I don't need to rely on one thing or another. I can do it on my own. And then when they battled with, you know, addiction and those personal things that they came out with, I struggled with that, you know, and it's one of those things where it's like, you know, these were my heroes. Maybe I should have, you know, learned or whatever from their mistakes, but I made the same mistakes. And to kind of see how them prevailing and, you know, breaking the mold on getting better, I got better, you know, and I still look up to them for that, you know, and I think it's amazing that people put this stigma around addiction and put the stigma around all those things. And it's not fair because, you know, there are some people who don't want help. And this is a disclaimer, you know, if you want help, like just ask for help. It's the hardest thing to do is to say, I need help. Um, but kind of knowing that I shared that it's a bond. People who had addiction issues or abuse issues, there's like some really, really weird unspoken bond. And that just made me so much more connected to them because they are on top of the world right now and they look great and they're doing their thing and that's where I'm at. And to kind of share that is awesome.
And then, you know, like 2 decades later, you're sharing a locker room with them too
Crazy.
as well. So, I mean, let's talk about that. Obviously, you and Kelly Madden got to face Danny Luna and Jody Threatin in a TNA explosion match, you know, in the kind of not in your backyard a little bit of in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Talk about that, your experience and your main takeaways from TNA.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was a really great experience. And I'm really not just saying that. Everyone was so great at TNA. I would love to be back there. I think it's literally the perfect environment. Everyone was so welcoming and so understanding and it was cool, you know. It's like it's Philly, like people knew me, which is
Yeah.
awesome, you know. And just being able to know that, you know, this 3 minutes that I had, it was very special to me. You know, I don't take it for granted. I don't ever take it for granted. I am such a grateful person and I work on gratitude, you know, and it's not just like me talking out of my butt, you know, like I really am grateful for these opportunities because they're far and few between, but they're also often. So
Yes.
it's a really weird dynamic in wrestling right now because it's like sometimes you feel like it's not in reach, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have this opportunity. Um, and that's what they always say, like to always be ready because you just don't know. And I would love to go back there. I'm confident that maybe I will one day. And you know, everybody was great, even the Hardys. You know, I got a big hug from Matt. It made my whole day. You know.
You talk about it's an opportunity, obviously, to get some great exposure and wrestle some, you know, contracted talent, but it's also a
Yeah.
learning opportunity. You know, you're surrounded by all these vets like the Hardys, you know, Gil Kim, Tommy Dreamer, you know, all a lot of these vets. Did you have a chance to pick anyone's brain backstage, whether it was a TNA talent or producer at all?
Yeah, so Gail was fantastic. She was right hands on with everything. Watched the match, you know, went over the match with us. You know, and just having her expertise alone was like the coolest thing in the world. Um, just in the sense of because she's so damn good and so damn smart, and
Yeah.
you know, just watching her growing up and just knowing that her input was like the best input I could have had all night, you know. Um, and just in general, everybody was just so like people were all watching backstage. You had a couple people come up to me and say, it was great, you did good, you know. And again, our job is to sell. My job is to make you look good, you know, and I really do my absolute best to do that, you know. And even, you know, Jody and Danny too were great with feedback and helping us out and being very welcoming. it was just a great experience. It really was. Like I love TNA. It's just amazing.
I think it's a good marker too of the, and payoff of the progress that you've made, over the last 6 years now going on. And last year that was recognized on the PWI Women's 250 list where you ranked number 185. So I know it's like a year removed at this point, but do you recall your initial reaction to this honor and kind of what it meant to you?
I do, and I will say it was amazing. Like I was kind of getting defeated, and some people are like, "Oh, it's just a list," and I'm like, "Yeah, but like this is a magazine that I read my entire life as a kid. Literally, I have tons and tons of PWIs from like so many years ago, and to be featured in one was the coolest thing ever, and especially because they made like adding more to the list of women because there's just so many talented women out there. Um, and I remember thinking, I'm like, "Oh, I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. Oh, I'm not gonna." And then I remember someone texted me, and Rob was in the shower, and I remember I was like, "Rob, Rob." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "185." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "185." We were so happy. Like it was a big deal for me because again, it's one of those things like you're a kid, it's a dream. People recognize your talent, people recognize the work you're putting in. And for me, you know, I've been doing a lot of this on my own. Um, Meeting people, getting out there, shaking hands, building relationships. I'm proud of myself in the sense that what I'm doing and, the work I'm putting in is being recognized on a national level. It's not just my little Northeast bubble, So to be in a list with all of these amazingly talented women and to be even considered, it was the coolest thing in the world. I know. Hoping for
I,
another one this year.
I think third grade you especially would be very proud of the
Yep.
girl who kicked a kid in the, let's just say, in the nuts, who told you wrestling was fake and that girls couldn't wrestle. So I need to know the story behind this.
Oh my God. So many kids used to like mess with me because I was a tomboy. I was like a little bit of a tomboy, but I was like the girl that everybody wanted to date. And I'm in elementary school. Like that was just who I was. And I remember I was talking about wrestling. All I ever did was talk about wrestling. It's just been my life forever. And I was talking about wrestling and I was like, there was like this little pole at my elementary school that would look like a ring. Like it had
Yeah.
like the curve. So I would go up on it and do the Matt Hardy or do the Lita or and I was having a ball. Me and my friends were doing entrances and stuff. And this one kid comes up to me. I'll never forget it. I remember his name and everything. He was just like, wrestling's fake. Or he said something like, girls can't wrestle, or like girls can never be professional wrestlers. And I was just like, oh yeah? He's like, it's fake. And I'm just like, kicked him right. And he was just like on the floor, like, oh, so upset. He's like, I'm not messing with her anymore. And he ran away like crying like a little baby. I'm like,
Did you
it's
get
like third grade. I'm
suspended?
like, get out of here.
Did you get
What?
suspended? Did you get suspended at all?
No, he didn't tell on me,
Okay, that's good then.
which was
See, you taught him,
awesome.
teaching the
Yeah.
kids
Yeah.
lessons since third grade. Don't mess. You've been vicious since third grade, Vicki.
Oh, believe me, I've gotten suspended many times in high school, but not then.
She's been vicious since third grade. It was
There.
always, she was always destined to be vicious, Vicki. I'm just
It's in
saying,
there.
don't mess with her.
It's in there, man. I was pissed. I'm like, girls can't wrestle. I'm like, oh yeah? You want to see?
Oh yeah. Two more questions for you.
Yeah.
We were looking back, but now let's look towards the future. Obviously you said you would love to be back in TNA. What are some of your other personal and professional goals for, you had 6 years under your belt, say for the next 6 years of your career?
I'm hoping and praying to the Lords up above that I am signed. Um, Two of the major companies that I would just absolutely love to work for is WWE or TNA.
Yes.
TNA and WWE have this little portal door to each other, which is awesome. So you never know. I've done some stuff with WWE in recent time, which has been great.
Mhm.
Trying to build relationships there and whatnot. For me, I don't know what else I would do with my life. And it's like I literally wrestling is like it's like all I've ever known. It's all I've
Yeah.
known for all of my life, from 4 years old. You just start, you're just talking and understanding things and walking and doing all these things at 4 years old. And it's been my life. And there was a period of time where I didn't, know if I was even going to do this. And I remember thinking like when I was struggling with stuff personally, Like if I don't do this, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. And I feel like where I'm at now is a testament to where I was. And like you said, like I look at little me, like I'm doing this for her. If I give up or if I, you know, break down or whatever, like I would be doing a disservice to young Victoria. And I feel like with me, I'm so passionate about wrestling to the point where it's literally like just flowing in my blood, in my veins, and it keeps me going. And I've been very lucky and fortunate that I haven't had any serious injuries. I've been very lucky and fortunate to build the relationships that I've built with people and companies. And the only way I'm going to get better is to keep working these, talents that are better than me and on a different level. And I really hope in 6 years I'm a regular on television. And I believe it is very possible for me. I'm never will have a big head in my life. It's just not me. I'm very, very humble and I try to abide by humility. I really do. But I know in my heart of hearts that like if you're just given that little push
Yeah.
and that coaching, and I just have someone, may or may not have someone who's willing to take me on as a project, somebody very important in the wrestling world. So that should be a good thing. But I just have that, I know I can make the most of it. And I know I could surprise people. And I think so far I'm doing all right, and I'm very proud of my journey so far.
Yeah, I feel like especially in the last, year or two, you've expanded yourself too, going to new places. Obviously, I wouldn't say it's a new persona, it's just like an evolved version of yourself. And obviously, I just realized you have a reminder of the flames on your arm right there. Is that a newer tattoo or have you had that?
So I got this. This is actually a mock of Chester Bennington's flame tattoos on his arm,
Ah,
both, and he's like my freaking favorite artist in the
yeah.
world. Sorry if the dogs are barking. Favorite artist in the entire world. And I got this about 3 years ago when he passed, and I kind of made it my own, where it's like the Lincoln Park logo, and then I
Yeah.
have like his name is in it.
Yeah.
Um, and it just so happened to work out that way.
Yeah. Okay. See, again, it was destined, you know.
Yep.
Obviously, final question, you are the flame that never burns out, but obviously sometimes in real life we do burn out, personally, professionally, mentally, physically. So how do you uplift yourself or center yourself back mentally and physically when you are feeling burnt out?
Yeah, it happens. Just recently I kind of came off of a insane trip. I was in Minnesota and then I had missed a
Yeah.
flight and I had to take two flights and this and back and Ubers and I got car sick. It was just a nightmare. All for the love of wrestling, but I did it. I powered through. Um, and I remember when I came back, I was just like, holy crap, this is life on the road, like I'm starting to get out there more and fly more and drive more and do all these things, and I'm starting to appreciate the work that these people put in. And for me, my center is Rob, my center is my dog, and just kind of coming home and just breathing and appreciating the downtime. I'm a homebody, so I'm doing my thing with wrestling, I'm on the road, I'm doing all that, but I work from home, so everything's home, except for the gym right now. And I'm lazy, but that's how, I wouldn't say lazy, but I'm comfortable. And that's how I reset, when things get a little crazy and things get a little hectic. Um, but the flame that never burns out, it just kind of came to me one day because I'm just this spunky spark that just no matter what happens to me in my professional life and in my real life, I don't die. I will not burn out. Like it's just I'm constantly going. And fun fact, side note, Downstait did my theme song for me, and they literally, like, I just gave them a, now they're really good friends of mine. I love them to death. But I gave them a little synopsis of my life and I said, this is what I want. And they made this song and it's amazing. It's literally perfect. It explains why I'm the flame that never burns out. It explains how I came from hell and did all these things, and I'm rising to the top. So shout out to them for that because it definitely adds to the character. It definitely adds to, my persona.
Have you always had a connection to Downstate, or how did this partnership come together?
So I kind of, this was, it's always funny because I always say, number one, I liked Cody Rhodes before it was cool to like Cody Rhodes. Okay. I'm talking OVW Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
Okay. He's my top five. But so before Cody and WrestleMania, everything, like I just was like, I need something different. I need a different sound. I always had custom music, just for like copyright reasons and stuff like that. But I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I need a flair. I need something different that people aren't doing. So I just said, you know what about Downstait? Because I know that he does Cardona, he did Chelsea Green, whatever. So I reached out.
Ziggler, yeah, yeah.
Yep, reached out, formed this relationship. I met them during WrestleMania week. We all hung out. It was great. We watched night one together. And they just came up with this song for me, and it was crazy, man. And now we have a lifelong friendship. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Always, you never know the relationships you can form in wrestling. It's a crazy,
yeah,
crazy world, you know.
it
Um,
is.
before we let you go, please let the listeners know where they can find you online and support you.
Yes, please. So Instagram, I'm at Vicious Vicky with an underscore. Twitter is Vicious underscore Vicky underscore. I know it's annoying, but and then Facebook as well, Vicious Vicky. YouTube, if you just type in Vicious Vicky, I think it's under Vicky, Vicky Andriola, which is my shoot name, which is fine. And TikTok as well, Vicious Vicky.
And that's Vicky with the CKI, no Y, just for
ICKI. Yes. I'm not
just
Icky Vicky from Fairly Odd Parents.
hey, Vicky. I won't say, but that's a bop. I'm just saying,
My
in my
whole
household,
life.
that's a
My whole
bop.
life.
That's me with Umbrella by Rihanna. So you know
Oh,
what? I get you. Finally, somebody relates.
I can't, man. Of
Vicky, thank you so much for joining me here today. It's
course.
been an absolute pleasure as always.
Yes.